So, Joe, let me ask you this. We were talking about Death Wish. Bruce Fretz is writing a column about Death Wish tomorrow for Sundance, his blog on Sundance. Bruce, do you want to ask Joe about Death Wish? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing this piece because they're just starting to air the original on the Sundance channel this week. And so we were talking about Jimmy Woods earlier, too, and this sort of came up to my mind. Like, did you look at anything that happened with Straw Dogs, the remake of that, to say, like, I want to do something similar to that, I want to do something different to that?
No.
It seemed like that movie didn't really...
No, you know what, listen, I love Rod Lurie. I think Rod's a great filmmaker. I think that the deviation in this Death Wish is, I think it has... It literally, when I say inspired by the Garfield novel, it's really inspired. I mean, in the most vague, kind of nebulous way, because I didn't really adhere to that beyond the revenge, family murdered, the kind of the overarching storyline. But everything else is kind of invention. And I thought it was important to set it in a different, milieu and make it Los Angeles and have him have a relationship with his brother. And I just think it's a much more complex version of Death Wish. And I think you could call it, oddly, I think you could call a lot of things. I think Death Wish happens to be a title that's quite well known, and I think you could certainly apply it in a 21st century remake kind of way. But it's not. It's far from a remake. I think, if anything, when people say it's a reimagining, this is a thorough reimagining of that story.
Right. So let me
have a different
Frank Grillo having a character written for him, which will probably be played by Chris Pine. But that's another story.
What did I tell you, guys? What did I tell you? Yeah, no. It's a guy named Frank Grillo in the film being played by Chris Pine.
Or Winona Ryder.
Yeah. It's awesome.
God.
So I think, guys, it's in the loosest sense, and again, I don't say that to kind of distance myself, because I like everyone else, I'm a big fan of the original, but the original in terms of kind of again, I've said this, you got a bunch of punks moving through a subway car, and they pass the pregnant woman, they pass the elderly couple, and they go and fuck with Bronson. I mean, it just doesn't seem realistic to me. And this
politically, we just live in a different world, where the cops. Yeah. It's hard to believe that anything like that could ever happen now. I mean, there's much more control, and so it'd be tough to kind of remake Death Wish the way Bronson did Death Wish, But it was fun to watch back in the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, of course, the financing of this film will be a lot easier to get in place once Frank Grillo gets nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Grey.
or once Chris Pine actually signs on.
We're waiting for one of those two things to happen. Either I get Pine after Jack Ryan, or Frank gets nominated. One of the two things is going to determine who plays that role.
Guess where I put my money?
I asked Frank, and he didn't have a fucking clue. So what's the shooting schedule for this film, and when do you want to release it?
I would love to be shooting this, in February, and release it, in the fall of next year would be brilliant. It's not a particular, there's no CGI in this film. It's a fairly short schedule comparatively. It's all LA locations, which I think is vital and crucial to this particular incarnation of the story. And I think that it's not a difficult film to post. So I'm looking forward to it being a fairly propulsive process. And I just think, listen, if you read it on the page, I think it's met with people have been hugely enthusiastic about the draft. So that's exciting.
I know you're probably away from casting process, but there was a rumor, of course, on the internet. Is there any truth to the rumor that you're interested in Robert Downey Jr. to play the lead?
I'm certainly interested in Robert Downey Jr. I'm also interested in Pauly Shore. So that
well, as a boyfriend.
And yes, and I'm also looking to reinvent Carrot Top. So there's an opportunity.
Well, there you got rapist number one and rapist number two.
Yeah, emo Phil.
Exactly.
All right, let me ask you this then, Joe. Continue. I was talking about it with Frank. Are you putting it on hold until you think you could pass it through with Frank as the lead?
Well, I would listen. That was my wish, and that's still my goal, because I think that what people haven't seen, other than the briefly leaked screen test, is the other scenes that Frank did, which I think are listen. He's my dear friend, but I would say this if we were mortal enemies, but he's remarkable in those scenes, and I just think, again, and we've talked about this in the past, Matt. You know, we got to be ballsy and we got to be inventive, and we can't keep going to the same 5 guys and trying to get movies made. And I think the only way you break that mold is to recognize that you've got a guy that could be an absolute and has all the qualities of a leading man. And I think that that's what you push. And it's a Sisyphean, Herculean effort at times, and it doesn't matter. It's worth it. It's worth the stretch, and it's worth the push, and nothing would make me happier. So, you know, you never know. I mean, things change, but, you know, like I said, I think highly enough of Frank that I wrote, for maybe the first time in my career, I wrote a role specifically for an actor, and I wrote that role to be played by Chris Pine for Frank Grillo.
I want to tell all our listeners you should follow Joe Carnahan at CarnoJoe on Twitter, because he released his screen test on Twitter. I think he got into a little bit of trouble, and you can follow at.
No, guys, as I said, he got himself into a pickle because, you know, he's a guy who you know, walks the walk and talks the talk, and sometimes that's not the most popular guy, but there's about 4 of those guys in Hollywood, and Joe is one of them. I don't even know if they're who the other 3 are. Actually, I just know Joe. So, but you know, and for me as an actor, and again, we have become, you know, great friends, and I know if we could do every movie together, you know, it would be fantastic. But you know, this is a guy who, after the Gray, you know, he knows what he wants to fucking do, and the town knows what he's capable of doing. So it's tough. It's tough not to, you know, when you want to do what you want to do, and they're saying no. It's, you know, Joe Carnahan ain't going to do it. So sometimes I even got to say to him, listen, brother, it ain't happening with me, but you got to go make the movie because it's that good. But he doesn't listen.
By the way, I know the other guy that's like Joe in Hollywood. That's Rosie O'Donnell. So they're totally.
If we could continue together with Rosie, I'm in. Frank he wouldn't begrudge me that one iota.
No.
She would have no problem sitting in a sushi bar for hours on end.
Not at all. And Janet Baksaki and beer would be fantastic. She had her hands taped up. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm just going to throw up in my mouth. Hold on 1 second.
Wait. And there.
Now, Joe, just for our listeners, just so you can clear up all the internet rumors, can you explain to everybody what happened with Daredevil?
Guys, it's real simple. What happened with Daredevil was, you know, they got to me late. They had a script that a very talented guy, David Kelly, who's not the David Kelly of Boston Legal and Ally McNeil or whatever the hell that show was, another David Kelly, very talented guy, who wrote a really good script. But my problem was that it was a contemporary telling of that script, and I didn't think it was appropriate. I thought it would be really cool to do a Daredevil, to set a superhero film as they did with X-Men as a period film. In the 70s, when Hell's Kitchen was really Hell's Kitchen, and you had the Westies and Mickey Featherstone and Roy DeMeo and these guys kind of, you know, running around Hell's Kitchen, causing all kinds of trouble and inciting all types of chaos. So I thought that would be cool to do that. I prepared a pitch that reflected that. We saw the reel that we did that met with a great deal of success, I think, or enthusiasm on the internet. And what we simply did was we just ran out of time. We couldn't have possibly rolled cameras on October 9th, and I didn't realize I think we all thought that Marvel would grant that extension, and Marvel being smart about their business practices and wanting all the characters reunited under one roof, chose not to. I don't begrudge it. I think Kevin's a really smart guy, and I like him quite a bit, and I think he really digs the pitch. And who knows, man? There may be.
Are you comfortable?
Life after death.
Joe, are you comfortable giving your thoughts on who you think would make a great Matt Murdock?
You know what? Honestly, Matt, I never got to that point. I never reached the point where I thought, that could be any one actor. I think it was. I think I was more concerning myself with trying to put together, because I always had this idea of doing. It was like Daredevil 73, Daredevil 79, and then Daredevil 85. So that was going to be that was going to be the thing, and it was going to be a trilogy. And I had what I thought was a pretty compelling, with Mark Millar's help, a pretty compelling kind of take. And Mark was doing it as a buddy of mine, but I was using him as a sounding board. And of course, that guy I think he's a genius, and I think he's this generation Stan Lee. And
why did he get no credit? Why did he get no credit for the Avengers, Joe? Mark?
Listen, I think he did that as work for hire, man, and I think, and I'm hoping that the powers that be at Marvel kind of take care of him, because all that stuff originated with him, but Mark, being a really upstanding, fine, polite Scottish lad, didn't push the issue, and I also think Mark takes great pride in being kind of endlessly creative, and I think he would have felt it was petulant to just sit on ceremony and say, kind of demand to be paid. I think, as he says, like right now, like Secret Service and Superior outselling, some big Marvel titles like Spider-Man. So I don't think, Mark's crying all the way to the bank right now. He's not resting on his laurels, and that's just that's the personality he is, and he's become a wonderful friend and a great kind of collaborative. You could do worse than to bounce ideas off of him, as he did with us recently. There was a couple of us that he ran Kick-Ass 3 by, and we kind of counseled him and gave him whatever advice we thought was prudent and necessary, and he reciprocates. He's a great guy. And
well, with
I think,
all the jokes we made today, Matt Murdock's going to be Chris Pine,
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
We talked about it enough.
Or Ryan Reynolds.
or again, Pauly Shore looking for a moment, looking for a window, going to get back into it.
And so, since Bruce Brent is on from TV Guide, why don't you explain to Bruce about your pilot you're doing with Brian Grazer at A&E?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I want to hear about that.
Whoa. What A&E? How come I'm not in this?
Frank, I asked you. You said you were busy. What are you talking about?
All right. Okay. Well, that's hot.
This is exactly my conversation with Frank. Frank, you want to say anything? Hey, bro, I've got a flourishing fucking film career, and he hangs up. That was it. That's all I heard.
Wait.
You got a giant film career, dick, and then click. That's what I heard. No, Bruce, it's for A&E and for Fox 21. It's for Imagine, for Brian Grazer, and for Fox 21, and it's. I think it's an incredibly cool. Glenn Morgan, who's a really talented guy, did a really unique kind of take on the whole serial killer genre, and I'm loath to kind of go down that road, but I thought it was so well written and imaginative and smart that I thought, oh, what the hell, and like everybody else, I want some of that TV money, baby. So I jumped in, and I'm excited. We start shooting, I think October 9th, and I can't tell you the cast, I can't tell you any details, but I'm really excited about it.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Thanks.
So let me get this straight. This is a show for A&E, and it's not about rednecks doing redneck jobs. It's not a reality show.
No, not the script I've read. Now, Steven Seagal will show up and nut shot somebody, but we don't know when that's going to be. We could save that. We could save that for the season finale. We're not sure, but he will punch the nutsack off someone. We just don't know.
Well,
it's going to be a cop or a serial killer.
Look for Bruce Fretz, who's at TV Guide. You're on the phone, Bruce, and you gave the great review. And I'm expecting, Bruce, now, Joe's going to be looking now for you on this pilot. He's going to be seeing what kind of review you give it. You're on the line here.
Good. I mean, I love Glenn Morgan. He did some great X-Files episodes back in the day. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Very promising.
Yeah.
Very promising.
I don't know. I might be speaking out of line, but Joe and I we're developing a series for I think NBC. It's Evil Knievel. It's reimagined. It's in a pickup truck instead of a motor. Anyway,
it's actually called Evil Knievel. Frank's going to play Evil Knievel the later years, and it's just going to be Evil Knievel on a backboard in constant pain and taking Vicodin, and he just has dreams, and that's what we go with, these dreams and nightmares, and that's what we concern ourselves with.
I would totally watch
monkey in it, and I think NBC will pick it up if you put a monkey in it. So.
Well, yeah. If you put a gay couple in it and a monkey, NBC will pick it up.
Yeah, there you go.
And
we're gonna use all the old sets from the Playboy Club that are still hanging out and are unused. We're gonna blow the dust off those fuckers and use those.
Well,
yeah.